When we name amines, we have to first identify whether we're looking at a primary, secondary, or tertiary amine. And just before we get any further, cyclic amines have a more complex nomenclature system. So we're going to be only looking at how to name non-cyclic amines. So first let's take a look at primary amines. And when we name primary amines, we just identify the alkyl group ending in YL and then end it in amine. So we have three examples here. The first on the left has an ethyl group bonded to that NH2, so ethylamine. The next amine has 3 carbons with the bond to the nitrogen in the middle carbon. So that's called isopropylamine. Notice it's not called 2-propylamine, it's called isopropylamine. And then our last one is cyclohexylamine, where the cyclohexyl group is bonded to the NH2. If we have a secondary or tertiary amine where all the alkyl groups are the same, then we just use the prefix di or tri respectively for secondary or tertiary amine. So the first example on the left here is a secondary amine, and there are 2 propyl groups bonded to that nitrogen, so we call this dipropylamine. And to the right of that is a tertiary amine with 3 ethyl groups, so this is called triethylamine. However, when the groups are different, then we have to indicate both groups, and the longest group always comes last. That's considered part of the root name, and by longest I mean the chain that has the most carbon. And then the other group has a prefix of N. So and when we named alkanes, we had an index number 1, 2, 3 depending on the numbering system of the chain, and in an amine we have an N, and that N means that group is directly bonded to the nitrogen. So let's look at our first example. On the left there is an ethyl and a propyl group bonded to the secondary amine. So the propyl is longer, 3 carbons, so that will be our root name, and we name it N-ethyl propylamine. So that N means the ethyl group is bonded directly to the nitrogen. On the right we have a tertiary amine that has 2 methyl groups bonded to it as well as a propyl. So again, the propyl will be the root name because 3 is greater than 1, and we name it N-dimethyl propylamine, or NN-dimethyl propylamine. So even if the 2 groups are the same and we're using the prefix di, we still write 2 N's. So in secondary amines with 2 different alkyl groups, there will always be a capital N, and in tertiary amines with different alkyl groups, there will always be 2 N's. Okay, this is problem 16.29 from the end of the chapter. Draw the structures corresponding to the following names: N-methyl cyclohexylamine, B dipropylamine, and C pentylamine. So pause the video and see what you get. So N-methyl cyclohexylamine, we know from the name that it's going to be a secondary amine, and that methyl and cyclohexyl will be the 2 groups bonded to it. So I've used a combination of structural and line structure here. The cyclohexyl group is a line structure and the methyl is expressly written. And I do want to write the hydrogen. I know in line structures we don't write the hydrogens if they're bonded to carbon, but we do write them if they're bonded to a heteroatom like nitrogen. Dipropylamine has 2 propyl groups bonded to the nitrogen, so here's the condensed formula on top, and then below I have the line structure and I have that hydrogen in there. You can't see the bond there, but and then C pentylamine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons bonded to that NH2 group. If you got that right, give yourself a pat on the back.